Hello, and welcome to new episode from the Markets Middleman. Today's Forex forecast is on Sunday, January 11. The the year didn't wasted any time before it changed the market structure, provided some liquidity, and offering some beautiful trending markets at the very beginning of this year. And starting as always from the DXY weekly time frame, let's go ahead and analyze what could potentially be the scenario for the week ahead. So as we can see on the weekly time frame, this is the first weekly close well above the previous weekly high. So ever since this candle closed above this weekly high, it swept this buy side and couldn't close above it, and it was a previous buy side as well, and then market pushed lower. Now, since December, okay, notice how prices started creating a consolidation phase whereby sellers are no longer existing in the market, or they are no longer in control of price. And in fact, buyers was able to retain power and then still close this whole week above this previous weekly low, the previous weekly high, sorry, and above this weekly order block, which is the last down closing candle within this push to the downside. Now, notice here, this was previously, we spoke about the significance of this level over here. It's an inverse bullish fair value gap, which could act as a bearish, and in addition to this weekly order block over here. So this was a combination, and then price dipped lower. I think it's just a matter of time, and we see all another weekly close well above this area over here. Probably we'll have the next weekly low at this level over here and a continuation to the upside. Now, where this continuation can head from here, I think the very realistic target is this two relative equal buy side and a monthly fair value gap that wasn't mitigated yet. Very fast, I'm going to show you on the monthly time frame. There's a significant potential for price to go higher into this monthly breaker. So this is really very important. This is an institutional level. Notice how many lows we have over here. Notice how the breaker was created, and notice this untapped fair value gap. So there's really nice chance that we see something like this, and then if the dollar would continue its downtrend, I think it's a very nice level for continuation to the downside. Or maybe the DXY will just continue trading higher. I really don't know, and no one knows from here. This is why we trade those markets from internal to external levels. Everything I know for now is the possibility of a small retrace and then a continuation to the upside. To have even more information and to be able to transfer this into an actual setup that we can trade day by day, we go to the daily time frame. So on the weekly we are definitely bullish. On the daily we notice how price broke well above this breaker. It actually did made a reaction from the daily fair value gap that we spoke about in the last episode. Okay, and this was the area of interest that I wanted to see a reversal from. So it did actually reverse price, but it couldn't turn price bearish. So this was intraday bearish setup, but couldn't last to sweep those lows over here. So we have a fresh new displacement on the daily time frame, the existence of a daily fair value gap, and this is the weekly order block over here. So what I expect from price for the next week is the following. Okay, since Friday was still very bullish and closed well above the high of Thursday, I think Friday's high would be taken before we see this daily fair value gap. Okay, so over here we cannot do anything, or at least you cannot buy, because we're gonna sweep Friday's high and this buy side liquidity over here, which is December 9's high. Okay, from here maybe we can have a reversal on the XY. Okay, we can be bearish for maybe a couple of days, but then over here I'm gonna be focusing on a continuation setups. I really don't think we're gonna have a deeper retrace into the weekly order block, but hey, everything's possible. Okay, and we can still see some consolidation on the daily time frame. We can see something like this, a wick below, but the day would close above the daily fair value gap. This would still be significantly valid. Okay, So a potential reversal from buy side and then a potential continuation from daily fair value gap. And the next target would be the buy side that price would potentially create. And the obvious thing is previous monthly high, which is December's high. Okay, of course, it will become like areas of interest, continuation to the upside, fair value gap again, and all the way until we reach the buy side over here. So we have the bias from the higher time frame. The monthly is telling me that yes, there is an algorithmic reason for price to push higher. The weekly time frame is confirming the narrative. It's telling me that yes, we broke well above a weekly order block. So this is very bullish. The daily time frame is also telling me that yes, I made a fresh new displacement and I'm leaving for you the best fair value gap that you can focus on. So even though price takes this buy side, this is just internal. It's not very important buy side. Noticing the potential for the upside. December's high and then those two relative equal highs, which usually are the most powerful magnet for price action um, to push price towards. So this is really all I need to know from the DXY. It could be simpler than this, but I just wanted to share some information so I help you break down this kind of analysis for yourself. So after I noticed that I'm bullish on DXY, noticing that EU is the inverse of DXY, so right now I know what I'm gonna do on the EU. So moving forward into the EU, and this is the weekly time frame, and I want you to realize how price had been trapped within this consolidation phase. So yes, we are having some internal trends, of course, and those kind of trends can be really nice on lower time frames. No aggressive price action, and it really provide you a very nice and healthy setups. But there's no real trend like in the beginning of 2025, for example, or the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. So right now it's more of, especially after sweeping those two buy sides over here, the trend is really coming to a compression phase, and this is very normal, okay? And you just need to adapt for the market conditions, and there's definitely A++ setups even though in such market conditions. But right now what we've seen from the euro is something significant. So last week I expected a reaction from the weekly breaker block. We will see it on the daily time frame, but before I move ahead, I just want to show you the possibility for next week. So we've seen this bullish fair value gap that wasn't respected as bullish much, and we haven't seen any reaction from it. And I don't expect that price can still go higher to test it as an inverse, simply because the volume or the probability of price keeping on pushing lower before it even tested as inverse is much more higher than retesting it. So this is not my main focus, but this is just telling me that hey, price is really bearish, closing well below this weekly close. It broke below this weekly bullish fair value gap as if it doesn't exist. So this is not the main point of interest. To sharpen my point of interest more, I've noticed that on the weekly I'm definitely bearish. And guys, I don't use trend lines, okay? This is just an overall trend direction. This is just telling me that okay, price is really trapped. And if in case I'm anticipating any long-term trend, then yes, there is some info to be taken. But so far, we've seen how the daily time frame also confirmed bearish. So this was the weekly breaker that we spoke about in the last forecast, okay? And this was the alignment between the fair value gap and the breaker block over here on the daily time frame. And it did made a reaction just the same way DXY made an intraday reaction from the daily fair value gap, but failed to turn price bearish. So yes, those areas are significant, but you have to differentiate between an intraday setup that you can definitely be bullish from, but keeping in mind that this is just going to be a reaction with the overall trend that already changed the market structure. So this day over here was really convincing, and those 2 days actually really convincing that this buying pressure on Monday couldn't last. And the fact that we closed the whole week bearish, then definitely on the weekly we're bearish, and on the daily we are super bearish, especially after closing well below this breaker. So right now we have a clear displacement on the daily time frame. So those are the time frames that you want to build your edge on, guys. Really. Um, it's not that if you see on the 5 minutes time frame price is bullish or bearish, then you can dictate your bias. I always take my bias from the higher time frame. So as I said, this weekly inverse is not my main target, but I just keep it in case price wanted to manipulate higher. In fact, this daily bearish fair value gap, I think it's the first bearish fair value gap that was created in this whole leg over here. So it's really significant. Same plan for DXY. Since this day closed well below this low, I think the low of Friday will be taken, as well as those 2, 3 lows over here. So we would potentially see something like this, and after we've taken this external sell side, sorry, we might have potential retracement for a couple of days on this daily fair value gap, and then smash those two sell side. The sell side that will be potentially created, and this sell side over here. Those two relative equal lows. Plus, notice how the couple of days consolidate over here. So this is really nice liquidity to be taken, as well as this low and this low over here. If we see DXY going through the monthly fair value gap, we can potentially see EU going much more lower from here. Okay, so we can potentially see EU doing something like this, and then maybe resuming the bullish scenario. But this is what I meant by trading those markets day to day. All I know from now is really a potential retracement back into this daily fair value gap, and then crossing through those sell sides. That's all I know. After this, I'm gonna exit. I'm gonna collect 3 to 4 R's on each setup, or I will take a stop loss. That's also normal, and then I'm gonna look forward into the next position. What happens after my trade, I really don't care. I'll just be patient and wait until the next setup to form by itself. Maybe we will see something like this, an extension lower, another displacement. Here we might have a formation of a fair value gap, and then also another continuation lower. And then here at the same time, maybe we'll have an order block, etc. So this is how I anticipate trading setups moving forward. So this was for EU, enough for EU. It's really simple, and yeah, very straightforward to the point. Here's the GU, and the GU is really amazing how it moves. Even though it consolidates for some time like here, or even a couple of days over here, but then it really, when it moves strongly. So notice GU reached this bearish daily fair value gap. This was the last bearish fair value gap within this whole move and push to the downside. So the market told me that this bearish fair value gap is important, and especially that this day couldn't close well above those buy side. It was like a shallow close, and it was a Monday, first Monday of the year, so there was just the last liquidity pushing higher. And yeah, in the previous forecast, I anticipated price to push lower into this weekly order block and this liquidity over here on the daily, and then push higher into this buy side. But since price pushed up first, then this is not the very significant, or this is no longer the most important area over here. In fact, I do want this area to work as a reversal sign, okay? Or I want to force price to just retrace higher to give me what? To give me a retracement into the daily time frame. So notice how, notice how the market structure shifted on the daily time frame after sweeping the SPY side, Monday's high, tapping into a daily fair value gap. We've seen how price aggressively pushed lower, closing well below this daily order block over here. So we are definitely bearish on the daily time frame. The fact that we have a bearish daily fair value gap, this is really significant. It's also a matter of a question of time. It's a matter of time that we see maybe another push lower, take Friday's low, tap into this previous liquidity, and then I want to see price rotate up into this daily fair value gap and then continue pushing lower into a sell side that will be created, this sell side over here, another sell side, and this 4-hour fair value gap that wasn't mitigated before. And I will just show you how significant this fair value gap was on the 4-hour, aligning perfectly with a breaker block. So these are just price magnets. So there's a very nice potential to the downside. I just want to see one manipulation higher and then a push lower into this area over here. So this is it for GU. I told you in the beginning of this video that I've included one more pair into my watch list. And the reason I was away from the AUD is simply because of this mess over here. So after April 2025, price made a nice sharp push to the upside, but it was really untradeable. Up until September 17, when we had a federal interest rate, yes, price started making some clear swing highs and swing lows. It really offered significant setups over this phase. So, especially after November, I started including AUD on my secondary watch list. But after this fresh, nice moves, this year I'm including AUD as one of my primary assets to trade. So I'll be focusing on it. In case there's something worth mentioning, I'll also include it in the Forex forecast that I'll be doing every weekend. So we've seen, first let me show you on the weekly time frame, coming from the higher time frame first, we have this was the last weekly fair value gap that price made a reaction from. Okay, I'm not saying that this is extremely bearish and we're gonna go just down. It depends on the DXY really, and I really don't know. But what I know again is that from external range was this weekly fair value gap to an internal range that might be this weekly order block, maybe this sell side. I don't know exactly, but I know that my bias is definitely bearish. Now, on the daily time frame, yes, we need to fully confirm a close below this breaker over here to confirm that we are bearish, I know, but the fact that we just closed a little bit above this buy side and we have a lot of objectives to the downside is telling me that, of course, and aligning it with the DXY and other USD pairs, it's telling me that price is definitely bearish. Okay, so the good thing about AUD is that it might potentially offer us a trade before EU or GU. Why? Because Friday could close above the low of Thursday. So the low of Friday can be protected a little bit by the time we take this daily fair value gap, which is aligning with this daily order block over here. So the first 75% of this daily fair value gap is where I'm eyeing over here. Okay, this is really significant as a potential continuation to the downside. If price took those two sell sides first, and especially this one that is not taken yet, the setup will still be valid. Okay, I would still have the same plan, waiting price to retrace back here, and then it has really nice potential to the downside. We have this unmitigated daily fair value gap that can be balanced, and this is the weekly order block that I've shown you on the weekly time frame, as well as this long-term sell side that could be taken, and then we see what the DXY decide to do from there. I just want to show you something real quick on the 4-hour time frame. We've seen why I'm confident to call this bearish, even though on the daily we haven't closed below the breaker yet, is simply because on the 4-hour time frame, really all of the hourly time frame, price created this as a base structure over here, and then reached the weekly fair value gap, and then we can see this whole thing over here as a displacement lower from this breaker, and this breaker is nested right at this daily fair value gap. So we see this buy side over here, which was created by the news, NFP news, and usually price like to rebalance those wicks created by the news. So what if we have this buy side just nested before a daily fair value gap aligning with a daily order block? So this is really where the smart money is lying over here, especially first 50% range of this daily fair value gap. So I'm really be eyeing on this potential area over here for any kind of reversals, or if you want to call it continuation to the downside, down until those sell side liquidity, daily fair value gap, and weekly order block. So the plan is clear and simple. It's just a matter of time, being patient, being prepared for those potential setups, and just execute at the right time after having some confirmation from the lower time frame, such as the 1 hour or 15 minutes, only after you are aware from the bigger time frame first. So, I think this took a little bit more time than I wanted, but that's fine. We shared a lot of things. Let me know how you think the price would react from the areas of interest. Let me know your plan moving forward, and I wish you the best. Hope you enjoyed your weekend, and good luck for the week ahead. Let's go.